For decades, Hollywood insiders whispered, speculated, and argued about what really went on between Rory Calhoun and Randolph Scott. Both men were icons of the American Western. Both were admired for their cool confidence and rugged charm, and both carried reputations larger than the silver screen itself. Yet whenever the topic of their private relationship came up, Rory remained noticeably silent. He sidestepped questions, smiled politely, and moved on without revealing a single detail. Until now. After years of speculation and long-buried rumors, Calhoun finally decided to open up, breaking the silence he had maintained for most of his life. His words didn't just shed light on Randolph Scott, they rewrote a chapter of Hollywood history. But to understand the weight of what he revealed, one must first understand the man behind the myth, a star who survived a broken childhood, rebuilt himself from nothing, and emerged as one of the most authentic legends the industry had ever seen. Rory Calhoun wasn't born a Hollywood hero. He entered the world on August 8, 1922, as Francis Timothy McCown in Los Angeles, California, a city glittering with promise yet unforgiving to those without stability or support. Growing up during the Great Depression meant that survival was a daily battle. His family struggled with poverty, moving frequently, constantly searching for work and security. The instability shaped him, roughened him, and pushed him into adulthood earlier than most children his age. By the time he was a teenager, Rory had experienced more hardship than many grown men. With little guidance and too much anger simmering inside, he began drifting toward trouble. Minor offenses escalated into serious crimes. He stole cars, got into fights, and earned a reputation as a boy who didn't fear consequences. Eventually, the law caught up with him. He was sent to a federal reformatory for auto theft and later wound up behind bars for robbery. It was a bleak, defining chapter that could have ended everything before his story truly began. Yet even in those dark years, something in him refused to break. The time behind bars didn't crush him, it awakened him. He often reflected later in life that those years gave him the toughness, humility, and clarity that shaped the man he became. When he finally stepped out into the world again, he carried scars, but he also carried determination. The boy who once ran from responsibility was ready, though he didn't know it yet, to step into a future far larger than anything he imagined. After his release, Rory didn't immediately stride into fame. Instead, he drifted through a patchwork of jobs. Mechanic, logger, truck driver, cowboy, anything that paid a few dollars and kept him moving. He worked with his hands, lived under open skies, and learned the grit of real labor. Ironically, those rugged years would later become the secret weapon that set him apart from nearly every actor in Hollywood. His life changed through a twist of fate that could only happen in old Hollywood. One afternoon, Rory crossed paths with established actor Alan Ladd. Ladd's wife, Sue Carroll, happened to be present, a sharp-eyed talent agent with an instinct for hidden potential. She noticed the tall, broad-shouldered young man with piercing eyes and an air of raw, unpolished charisma. Something about him stood out, something magnetic. She asked him a few questions, observed the way he carried himself, and made a decision that would rewrite his destiny. Sue Carroll signed him almost immediately, polished his rough edges, and gave him a new identity. Rory Calhoun. She enrolled him in acting classes, introduced him to studio executives, and helped him take his first steps into the world of entertainment. It was a transformation that felt sudden yet natural, like a star that had been waiting for someone to uncover it. Rory often said he never planned to become an actor, but once the door opened, he walked through it with purpose. Rory made his screen debut in the 1940s, and from the moment he appeared on camera, it was clear that he wasn't just another hopeful actor trying his luck. His presence was commanding. His voice carried a low, confident rumble. His athletic build and handsome features made him instantly memorable. Studio executives knew they had something special, and audiences quickly agreed. Throughout the late 1940s and 1950s, Rory climbed Hollywood's ranks with remarkable speed. He was cast in supporting roles at major studios before earning leading parts in a string of westerns and adventure films. He starred in standout productions such as The Red House, 1947, With a Song in My Heart, 1952, and River of No Return, 1954, where he shared the screen with giants like Marilyn Monroe and Robert Mitchum. His natural athleticism allowed him to perform many of his own stunts, and directors loved his reliability. He wasn't dramatic or difficult. He showed up, delivered, and brought depth to every character he portrayed. What audiences admired most was his quiet confidence. Rory didn't dominate scenes with loud bravado. He drew viewers in through intensity, subtlety, and emotional honesty. At a time when westerns ruled the box office, he fit the genre perfectly. Authentic, rugged, and mysterious. People didn't just watch him act. They believed in him. Rory Calhoun stood apart from many Hollywood cowboys because he wasn't pretending. He didn't have to learn how to ride a horse or rope cattle for a role. He'd already lived that life. Everything the audience saw on screen was rooted in real experience. His hands had calluses long before they ever touched a script. And his understanding of the Western lifestyle came from surviving the hard realities of youth, not from studio training. This authenticity made him magnetic. His performances carried a weight that couldn't be faked. Even his silence spoke volumes, conveying strength, pain, honor, and vulnerability without exaggerated gestures. He embodied the spirit of the American frontier. Directors trusted him. Co-stars admired him. Fans connected with him because he felt real in a world built on illusion. That sincerity became his signature. In 1958, Rory Calhoun took on the role that would define his television career. Bill Longley in the hit series, The Texan. From the moment the show premiered, audiences were captivated. The character, stoic, principled, and quietly heroic, felt like an extension of Rory himself. He didn't have to stretch far to play the part because the essence of the role came naturally to him. The show ran from 1958 to 1960, and during those years, Calhoun became a household name. He represented a type of hero the audience adored. Calm under pressure, loyal to friends, dangerous to enemies, yet undeniably human beneath the cowboy hat. Children looked up to him, adults respected him, and critics acknowledged the sincerity he brought to television. What made The Texan so successful wasn't just good writing or solid production, it was Rory's authenticity. He didn't act like a cowboy. He simply existed as one. The series cemented his place among Hollywood's most beloved Western stars, and even decades later, fans still remember the show as a hallmark of TV's golden era. Rory's personal life was as eventful as the roles he played. In 1948, at the height of his rising fame, he married actress and singer Lita Barron. She was beautiful, talented, and glamorous. Someone who matched his charisma and understood the pressures of the entertainment world. Together, they became one of Hollywood's most attractive couples. They attended premieres, posed for magazine covers, and appeared to live the perfect celebrity life. The couple welcomed 3 daughters, Cindy, Tammy, and Lori. Rory adored his children, often describing fatherhood as the grounding force in his hectic and unpredictable world. But despite his deep love for his family, Hollywood life pulled him in many directions. Fame brought long filming schedules, constant travel, and public scrutiny. His good looks and on-screen chemistry with female co-stars fueled endless gossip. Rumors of affairs followed Rory everywhere. Whether exaggerated or completely false, they left Lita feeling isolated and betrayed. Hollywood's golden era was glamorous from the outside, but beneath the lights, marriages often struggled to survive the pressure. For Rory and Lita, the strain slowly built over the years. By the late 1960s, the cracks had become too deep to ignore. Reporters frequently questioned Lita about their relationship, and she eventually addressed the situation publicly. In interviews, she said she could forgive many faults but not dishonesty. Her statement made headlines and offered the world a rare glimpse behind their polished image. It was a brave, painful admission that exposed the emotional cost of their long marriage. In 1969, they separated, and in 1970, their divorce was finalized. It marked the end of a Hollywood partnership that had lasted more than 2 decades. Although they parted ways, they remained connected through their children, and Rory continued to express admiration and gratitude for the years they shared. His personal life, like his career, was a complex mix of love, passion, flaws, and redemption. As the Western genre began to fade in the late 1960s, many actors struggled to adapt. But Rory Calhoun wasn't one of them. Instead of resisting change, he embraced it. He explored new genres, accepting roles in television shows, low-budget films, thrillers, and even dark comedies. One of his most memorable later roles came in the cult classic Motel Hell, 1980, where he surprised audiences by delivering a performance that was both chilling and strangely charming. His willingness to take risks kept him relevant long after many of his peers stepped away from the spotlight. Rory understood that adaptability was survival, and he continued working steadily for decades. He wasn't chasing fame, he was pursuing craft. Rory Calhoun left behind a legacy defined by authenticity, resilience, and quiet strength. His journey from juvenile delinquent to Hollywood legend remains one of the most dramatic turnarounds in entertainment history. He embodied the duality that audiences love, tough yet tender, rebellious yet honorable, flawed yet deeply human. Directors admired his work ethic. Co-stars trusted him. Fans adored the sincerity he brought to every role. What made Rory unforgettable wasn't just his filmography. It was who he was. A man who lived boldly, loved fiercely, and never pretended to be someone he wasn't. His presence still resonates in the world of westerns, where authenticity is everything, and now, after understanding the hardships he endured, the successes he earned, and the man he became, we return to the question that lingered for years. What really happened between Rory Calhoun and Randolph Scott? Rory had avoided the topic for decades, choosing silence over speculation. He never added fuel to rumors or corrected the stories swirling around them. But when he finally broke his silence, his words offered clarity and reshaped public perception of their relationship. What he revealed wasn't scandal, it was truth. A truth forged through respect, rivalry, admiration, and the complex realities of old Hollywood. The story he shared not only shed light on his connection with Randolph Scott, but also revealed a side of Calhoun that the world rarely saw. Honest, reflective, and unfiltered. This was the moment his silence ended, and the truth finally stepped into the light. Rory Calhoun didn't speak about Randolph Scott for most of his life. Not because he feared controversy, but because he believed that some truths deserved privacy. Scott was one of the most respected men of the Western genre, disciplined, stoic, and committed to his craft. Unlike many stars of their time, Scott didn't indulge in scandals or theatrics. He lived with a quiet dignity that commanded respect. And for Rory, who had risen from chaos and hardship, Scott represented a type of stability he had never known in his youth. When Rory finally decided to talk about him, he began by acknowledging their complicated dynamic. They weren't just colleagues. They were competitors. Both men were strong personalities, both were rising in the same genre. Both had screen presence that audiences adored. Inevitably, Hollywood compared them. Who was more authentic, who carried the cowboy aura better, who connected more with viewers. Competition was unavoidable, but rivalry wasn't the whole story. Rory revealed that despite the public perception of tension, Randolph Scott had always treated him with respect. "He never judged me for my past," Rory said. "He knew where I came from, knew the mistakes I made, but he saw the man I became." Hearing those words shocked many who assumed Scott, known for his strict personal code, would have frowned upon Rory's rebellious background. Rory also admitted that Scott's calm discipline had influenced him deeply. On set, Scott was precise, every line measured, every gesture intentional. Rory, who came from a raw, instinctive acting style, learned to refine his craft simply by observing him. He once confessed, "If I ever learned what control looks like on camera, I learned it from Randolph." But the most heartfelt part of Rory's revelation was when he addressed the rumors. He didn't deny tension, but he clarified it. It wasn't dislike, he said. It was two men trying to be the best. Two men shaped by very different lives, and sometimes that creates fire. For the first time, the world saw the dynamic not as hostility, but as complicated respect, an unspoken bond between two legends. Old Hollywood thrived on gossip. Studios manufactured stories, magazines exaggerated rivalries, and fans loved imagining dramatic feuds behind the scenes. Rory and Scott were prime targets. Their contrasting backgrounds made it easy for reporters to fabricate tension. Scott came from privilege, well-educated, polished, refined. He represented the gentleman cowboy, graceful in demeanor and quiet in manner. Rory, on the other hand, was raw, rugged, and unpredictable. To gossip writers, they were perfect opposites. Opposites create headlines, and headlines sold newspapers, Stories circulated claiming Scott disapproved of Rory's criminal past. Others suggested Rory resented Scott's clean image, but Rory clarified that most of it was fiction. Hollywood always needs a story, he said, and if it doesn't exist, they create one. He admitted they had disagreements, but never hatred. Their clashes came from artistic passion, not personal animosity. Both men cared deeply about their work. Both wanted authenticity. When two intense personalities share the same space, sparks fly, but sparks are not flames. Rory emphasized one thing repeatedly. People think rivalry means dislike. It doesn't. It means you push each other to be better. By framing their relationship this way, he reframed years of speculation. He showed the world that two men could be rivals without being enemies, competitors without being bitter, and alpha personalities without destroying each other. It was a rare insight into how real Hollywood worked, far from the sensationalized tales printed in magazines.